Knowing how much this data-driven council doesn't actually want to have the full context for anything, I just thought I'd just drop in a couple interesting historical and anthropological points that relate to this program. The first is simply to point out that if the city were not extracting, somewhere between $11 and $12 million from residents at gunpoint in so-called taxes every year, we, the public, would be able to fund these programs much better than the city ever possibly could. Even 10% of the diverted funding would more than triple the grant allocations presented here tonight. But, of course, the city needs to siphon some of that off to fund its middlemen. Jared Diamond expressed it really beautifully when he said that the only difference between a kleptocrat and a wise statesman, between a robber baron and a public benefactor, is one of degree. It's how much of the tribute extracted from the producers by the ruling elite is retained by the elite, and how much the public likes the uses that tribute is then put to by the elite. Another interesting point to consider here, which hasn't really been talked about during this whole process much, is the contracts that the city now requires organizations receiving these grants to sign. So far, the contracts have been pretty innocuous, but I always do wonder where they're going to go in the future. When, for example, is the first contract for a small grant recipient going to be proposed that requires them to place a land acknowledgement in all of their materials? We know that's a big one for Councillor Melissa Dunn. Or the first one requiring them to deed restrict any properties they own so they don't become short-term rentals. Or the first restriction on what their programming can actually be. We haven't seen these in the contracts yet, but it's not hard to guess that they're already circulating in the minds of city staff, or similar ideas, and that we will see them in the future. Just a few things to contemplate as this program moves